Welcome to Transparent Conversations with Latoya, here on D30 Radio, the triniest and hottest station. I'm so sorry about tonight that we're running late. It's because we're having some technical difficulties. So therefore, we're going to just do the conversation tonight by live Facebook. Our topic for today is blended families and maintaining a successful marriage. And as you all know, it can be challenging in a blended family and trying to also maintain a successful marriage. My guest tonight will share with you how they managed to successfully raise 6 children together in a blended family and how they were able to maintain a successful marriage. I'm going to start off by introducing Mr. Eontae Davidson. Eontae Davidson and I have been friends over 25 years. And when I thought about this subject, I was like, hey, him and Amitrice will be the perfect ones for me to invite onto this podcast to talk about this subject because I know they have some great advice for you. And also his beautiful wife, Miss Amitrice Davidson, Minister Amitrice Davidson. I remember when Eontae actually proposed to Amitrice. Oh my God, let me tell you, Eontae is a true romantic. He pulled out the stops, and I mean, Amitrice just cried. I cried with her from live. I'm like, oh my goodness. And Eontae is always so sweet. He treats his wife like a queen. So I was like, this will be the perfect couple for me to have on here tonight. Thank you and welcome. Thank you all for coming. And I'm sorry about the technical difficulties and you all, we run a little late, running behind. Yes. Well, Eontae, tell everybody a little bit about you and where you're from.
Well, military family, so I'm from a little bit everywhere. But I claim Columbus, Georgia as home. They fed me the most. Of course, raised in Lindsay Creek area. The Dove, as most people would call it around here. Come from a large family, 12 siblings altogether. Honestly, a lot of people don't know, but our family is actually somewhat a blended family as well. So I definitely know how it is from being raised within one, then also moving into one as well as far as being a husband, a father, and everything else that comes along with it.
Okay. Awesome. Amitrice, tell us a little bit about you and where you're from.
I'm born and raised from Columbus, Georgia. I have a smaller family. He has 12. But it was me, my sister, and my brother. And so that is an interesting mix in itself, like when we were trying to blend.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm from Columbus, Georgia, went to school here, work in the community.
Okay. And then blended family to me, I was raised in a blended family and I also had a blended family myself. Blended family to me is when a couple comes together, they get married, and the children are included in that union as well. They just bring those children together and they form a blended family. Blended families now outnumber traditional families. Most of the families now are blended. So that's why I felt like this is a subject that we need to talk about. Now, how long have you all been married?
We've been married. We just celebrated our 5th anniversary August 8th.
Oh, congratulations. I remember that wedding day too. It's beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate
you. Absolutely.
Okay, how many kids did each one of you bring into the union, into your marriage?
Let my wife speak first on that.
Thank you. I had 2 at the time. I had a daughter that was in high school, and I think my son was in elementary. No, he was elementary going to middle school. And so then we had, a year after we got married, we had Iana together.
Okay.
And I myself had 3 growing boys. Yes, I had one who was actually, he had just graduated high school. Then I had one who was starting high school. Then I had one who was in elementary school still.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was different.
Okay. Now, Eontae, did you think about the family dynamics when you proposed? About how you were going to bring everybody together?
Honestly, at the moment, no. I was in the fairy tale stage of everything. Because she'll tell you, even the kids will tell you, we used to have Bible study at New Destiny. And the kids already wrote out a whole big old plan on how everything was going to go.
Oh.
Yeah, they wrote everything before we even thought about being married.
Oh, wow.
And so with me, it was like, okay, everybody knew each other. Everyone was good with each other. Everyone was fine. And so in hindsight, looking at things like, okay, I didn't think about after everything moves forward as far as the other parents who were involved too.
Mm-hmm.
That was the part that really made things a little more different.
Right, right.
And one of the good things for us was that even prior to us getting married, my then pastor, Pastor Quinn, and his wife, Lady D, we went through some counseling. And one of the first topics that they brought to us was blended families.
Right.
And basically, their words were, your family is who is under your roof. Mm-hmm. And so we're both like, my mama, my sister, my brother, mm-hmm. what? But that's your priority.
Right.
Your spouse is your priority, and mm-hmm. then your children. And so I was like, okay. And later talking, Lady D was just like, and she's one of the ones from before we got married,
right.
That would mentor us,
mm-hmm.
and mentor me rather. And she would just always say, it's going to be blessing and submitting, and you have to trust that if this is the man that God sent to you, you have to trust him, and being able to submit to the God that's in him. Right. So from them early on telling us, hey, your family now is your household.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
That was some great advice. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that I didn't do in the beginning. We didn't go to marriage counseling because we was trying in a big hurry, just trying to rush it. Mm-hmm. So we didn't do that. But that was one of the things that we needed, that marital counseling. That was some great advice that your pastor gave you, because that is true, mm-hmm. that your house, who's in your house, that's your main priority, and that's who you take care of. Now, did you find it hard to put your marriage first when, in the blended family with the kids?
I would say yes and no into that question. Mm-hmm. The reason I would say that, because looking at both of us separately, mm-hmm. we were, I'll speak for myself in this. I was a totally single parent for three boys for 7 years by myself.
Right.
When I say single parent, I know people are like, well, they got a mother. Yeah, they had a mother, but I did everything 100% by myself.
Right.
With no help whatsoever.
Right.
And so leaving from that dynamic to somebody who's willing and pushing hard to help, mm-hmm. it was different for me.
Right.
And so thinking on the marriage portion, like I said, I was in a naive state of everything's just going to come together. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows each other. Everybody loves each other. It's going to come together. So it'd be times where the kids may have one agenda and we have a different one, and I'm not seeing it being played against it. Mm-hmm. And so, at different times, it was a struggle to keep the marriage above everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And, even after we got married, my pastor and his wife now, Pastor Bratham Powell and Prophetess Powell, just give us really good practical advice. Like, it doesn't, the blended families is fine, but at the end of the day, the issue is over here, but you all be on the same team mm-hmm. against the issue. Right. So don't let the issue, and the issue may mean one of those children having something they want to do or something they feel like is different or whatever. But again, she said, the issue, we be on the same team as against the issue. Right. So that has been just something for us to really grasp. And I know, like he was saying with the fairy tale thing, it was the same thing for me, because a lot of times you live out what you see.
Right.
So my mom and my father, before he passed, were amazing at being friends. Right. And so I just thought that was the way it was going to go.
Right.
And a lot of times it just don't end up like that.
Right.
No.
Right.
So at the time when we got married, my kid's father and I and his wife were in a good place where we co-parent. But we had to get there. I had to go and apologize to her for some things, just in immaturity. So by the time we got married, over here, we were co-parenting. If one parent went to the school, they picked up all the children, just stuff like that. Right. So to come into because I feel like a blended family is not one-dimensional. It's not just you and the kids. It's, you got to think about the sisters, the brothers, the parents, you know, the baby mama, the baby daddy.
Right.
And so it's just been one of those things that, you know, we literally like pray together about, you know, like my kid's father and his wife and his kid's mom and stuff like that, and just hoping that, you know, everything will come full circle.
That's awesome.
And allowing, you know, just allowing the kids to hear us talk positively about their mom or dad. Like, we don't talk negative about them.
Never.
And he had to kind of set the foundation, though. In that, you know, he set them down at the table and say, hey, the only people that runs this house is myself and Amitrice. You know, not your mama or not your daddy. And it had to be very clear. And from there, you know, we've had some hiccups, but it's still is constantly a learning.
And
environment.
I'm glad you said it, because that's one of the things I had to tell all the kids, is that everyone's coming into it first. No one has done this before, so we all are learning together. So don't think that, okay, since we're the adults, that we automatically know what to do. We're learning together. It's a process. We're all going to do it together, but no one is going to outweigh the other. But at the end of the day, like she said, who rules the house? The king and the queen. Nobody else outside of the home has anything that's going to shake, move, or rattle anything inside them doors but us.
And I love the fact that you said that you and your queen going to run the house. You didn't say I was going to run the house. You
I
and your
can't do
queen.
it alone.
So you and her come together and make, and that is, I love that. I love that, because that's the way it should be.
And like he mentioned before, you know, we both were independent and parenting on our own. So just little things that I never really had to ask anybody about. I had to go back to, you know, like Lady D said, you're going to get the blessings and the submissions. So I had to go back to understanding that just because I ask him is something okay. Doesn't mean that I'm not empowered as a woman. It just means that we're in this together. And so if I'm submitting my will to the man that God has called me to be, then I got to be okay with throwing this quote unquote independency out the door and just making sure that I run it by him. So, but it's a learning process. You know,
Trust me, I know it is a learning process, you know, and being submissive, I mean, hey, if your husband is leading you the right way and you all are praying together, I mean, hey, why wouldn't you want to listen to him?
Absolutely.
Know? And I just know from my own experiences, now my husband and I, we're on the same page. And I don't mind being submissive. That's what I should have did in the beginning. But, hey, you learn from your mistakes. And thank you all for being so transparent and sharing all that, you know, information with us. We have a couple more questions for you. Did you find it, share your personal experience of your blended family, as far as, like, what challenges did you have?
To start out on that one.
Again, I only had to go by what I saw, what I grew up with. So even with my kid's father, sometimes, you know, that was hard at first. But the biggest challenge was just that, you know, with the boys and their mother and stuff like that, what I saw was, hey, everybody chipping in, everybody coming in to be able to do what's best for the kids. So it was just a huge challenge for me to be able to just maneuver through that, because at the end of the day, we're married. So how do I manage this? And just, you know, a lot of counseling from my pastor's wife, you know, who is, you know, they're very versed on blended families. So just letting them know that, just keeping at the forefront that we are first and we have to be on one accord. So, yeah, that was the biggest thing, going in like it's a fairy tale. This is what I saw, so this is what we're going to live. But,
And I understand that, like you say, being a fairy tale. I was raised in a blended family. And my dad, he never said stepchild, never step anything. my sister and I, we were his daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got married, I thought everything